Tractate Bava Kamma, page 66, the subject of mortgage, getting a loan from either individual or lending institution, is one of the core subjects of today. The idea of getting money from someone, obviously we talk modern days, we have a terrorist Skype, it's a fellow Jew, but the idea is getting it with a certain price while the property value can either depreciate or appreciate. The mortgage can be unfixed or with points, or the term and condition may change. It's huge part when it's come to the law of interest. And since, as we explained, this chapter in this beautiful Tractate Bava Metzia dealing a lot with the law of interest, therefore we need to discuss when and where and how we consider that as a direct or indirect violation of rabbinic or even Torah law. But we will start with the first scenario, which is a true story. Here we are, page 65, on the very bottom, 65b. 4 lines from the bottom of the page. ההוא גברא דזבין לי הרעה לחברי שלא באחריות. Reuven sold to Shimon a property, but in advance he said to him, "Is no guarantee." Is no guarantee, meaning it spelled out in the contract in such a lucid way that if circumstance change and someone that the lender, Reuven, owes money will come and collect from this estate, Reuven has no responsibility. He will not pay him back anything. So it can happen for all kind of scenarios, such as Shimon, the purchaser, think will never happen. It can happen that Shimon has a desperate need, even for short time, for this property. It can be in many different scenarios. But the key is, it spells out that that in the event that land is seized by the seller's creditors, the seller will reimburse the buyer his purchase money, nothing, which means that it's no guarantee. He said to him clearly, "I'm not responsible." So the question is, how you treat it? Because since it said clearly that these type of things not holding the responsibility, the Khatam Sofer said, so what type of sale you have here? Because it's a if the seller will is staying away from any guarantee for the situation that the field is repossessed, so what exactly involved here? So they said Chazyei de Ka'atziv. So the seller noticed that the buyer, it's unhappy, it's sad. Why it's sad? Obviously because he's afraid he's going to lose his money. So it basically can be somehow tav al keren atzvi, that he lost, he's about to lose his investment. Amar lei amai atzivat. The seller said to the buyer, "Why you said? Itarfu lach minach magbilach lach shufra shivcha upeirei." He said, guess what? If they come and seize it from you, I promise to pay you. It goes by the edit, by the best property I have, even not just the compensation for the investment, but also the investment of the field in the addition. So it means if you have a situation that this land will bring a produce and the creditor will come and collect the produce of the estate as well. So he commit himself to pay him for that. So Amar Ameimar said, since we talk here almost like in the modern days we call it hearsay evidence, he just gave him awards, but the legal status of the promise is questioned. So Ameimar said, page 66, Pitume b'milei be'almahu. It's just awards, it's word of comfort. Those words doesn't carry any legal status, because Rashi explained that it's not sincere, so he's not responsible. So there is a responsa from Maharam Lublin. In those days, people got married young. It was a young man who was married very in a young age in the city of Vienna. And for sure it was a circumstance that he was married so young, before he reached the age of 20. And all of a sudden he turned ill. So the family members tried to convince him, since he's ill, to give his young wife a get. Why? Since they have no children, and he has brother, so in case he passed away, obviously the wife need chalitza, need a release, and they promised him while he was ill that if you give her a get and he will feel better, he'll get better, so he will be able to remarry her or betroth her again. So he did it, and all of a sudden, guess what happened? He was healed. And unfortunately, meanwhile, the people that convinced him to give her the get set her up with another man. And when they come to rabbinic court, they use the claim we have here, which is, if Reuven commit himself to give a gift to someone who's not lo zoche betna'o. So we said pitume mile be'alma is just a nice word of comfort, but doesn't carry a real legal status. If while he was ill, he put a conditional get and said that if I feel better, I want to, this get is not effective, I want to marry you, that's different. But since it was not a preconditioned get, so the only people who make that condition was the people who convince him to write the get. Therefore, patume milta, it's just a word of comfort, but it's not serious. So Maharam Lublin went very strongly against that claim. And he explained that there are three different status. Those who wants to read it, it's the chapter Kuf Kav Bet 122 in Responsa Maharam Lublin. He said, number one, before the action, regardless if he put a condition or not put a condition, the precondition that existed in his mind, it carries weight. He says, even the second claim, Bishat Ma'aseh, at the time of the action, we have here the upcoming Dina de Gemarrah, that what we're going to hear, that the moment the recipient know that condition, so therefore it's considering something that carries a weight. If it's le'achar ma'aseh, if it after happened, so nothing makes a difference. The condition from the mitchayev, from one who commits himself, doesn't carry condition. So here we see that the condition was before the giving. So therefore the t'nai, the condition, isn't affecting the stipulation he elaborates on that in following chapters 123 to 126 in Shut Maharam Lublin. He brings also the Baal Levush that's prohibited. So that's a very famous story, painful story in Jewish history. It's called Haget Mivina, the famous get of the city of Vienna in Austria. And it was a huge disagreement, to say the least, between the luminary rabbis at that time. You see it in Responsa Shut Habacha Chadashot, and you see also a Shut Geonei Batrai, Tshuvat Asma, and more. Anyway, Amar le Rav Asher le Ameimar, Ta'ama mai, what's the reason you're saying so? So he said, Kivan de lokeach ba'ei la'atnuyei ve'hacha mocher kamatnei. He said, the idea is that since the buyer is the one who needs to stipulate, this is the term and condition, and he neglected to do it, and here it was the seller who stipulated the condition, ואחר מוכר כמתני, אמרת פתומי מילי בעלמהו. You said that these are the word of enticement. So Ella, you have to say, מתניתא דקתנא לכשיהיו לך מעות החזיר לך. This phrase in a Mishnah that said that when you have the capability, when you have the financial capability, I'll give the property back to you. So obviously that's a typical case soon you see of mortgages. Because what's the idea of a mortgage? You call a banking institution, lending institution. You said, I want to purchase something. I need something. They ask you the first question, what are you giving me as a collateral? So the collateral is not in case, it's not to possess in advance. It's a possess in case of non-payment over a period of time. So therefore, when you have the money, I'll give the property back to you. That's part of the condition when you make a real typical case of mortgage. Now in this case, the mocher hu debay le'atnuyei, the seller who needs to stipulate this condition, mocher lo atnei velokeach kamitnei. So you see here, the seller is the one who needs to put this act of stipulation, which means when is the money available, you return to me. That's basically for his good, for his well. Since the seller is not the one who put the condition, so you see here, it's a word of enticement. So we said, Ve'amrinan. So we follow, we ask a question. We see in this Braita, Ma'ishna Reisha or Ma'ishna Seifa. What's the difference between the first clause, the first part, when the seller put a condition that is prohibited because of rebit, because of the law of interest, and in the last clause, in the Seifa, that the lokeach, the buyer, will allow it for rebit? Why would differentiate? V'amar Rava seifa de'amar lei mida'atei. In the last clause we talk about the lokeach that does that out of his free will. So therefore it does not carry an obligation to do it. And the seller did a full manner of transactions. It's called mecher gamur, and therefore you do not involve any form of taking an interest. So therefore, ta'ama, this is specifically because the amar lei mida'atei. So therefore, it has, the rabbis elaborate of the concept of mida'atei. The key is, he has this, the full comprehension and full consent to do it, full. So, ha lo amar lei mida'atei, if it's not that he said it with his own accord. So therefore, lo amrinan pitumei milei be'alma hu. So you don't say that this is the word of enticement, even though this statement was made by the buyer about himself, and it wasn't a condition of the seller. We still call it a word of enticement. Amar lei ameimar, respond to Rav Ashi, and he said, Naaseh keman de amar lei mida'atei itma. So we treated as he said it. So it means as follows. Always when you have the lokeach, the purchaser, put even a normal manner of transactions, he puts such a condition, we consider it as made it mida'ato, with his consent. Since he made this condition and not the seller, so his word is a word of enticement. Even is not spelled out that this condition depend upon his word. We treat it like he made it in his conditions. So, and we cannot force him to fulfill his word. So therefore, we consider it as a total sale, not a matter of loan. And even he changed his mind, we still consider that as a full manner of transactions. Tosfot said, in Dibur Matchil Patumei, he said, if the seller spell out this condition at the very early stage of the sale, which is, I'm selling you my field with a total condition that you take the full responsibility. So therefore, that's considering a stipulation, and it's not word of enticement. So in a way, Tosfot explains that even it was written in a contract that he is not responsible, it's considering his responsibility. The Meiri explains that they are about to sign a contract with no guarantee. And only when he noticed that the purchaser carries a tremendous sorrow of may lose his money, so he said it, I'm selling with a guarantee. So therefore, we said it just give him a word of comfort and is a word of enticement. Trace a situation, just giving you an example, can be many. You're talking about debatable estate. Debatable estate, for example, post-war area that is still in conflict between countries or between groups, right? And you have one entities that show in a registration that it is his name. But things can turn around and change for many ways. For example, is a chance that the government, the city, the police, the forces, the creditors, it's all kind of situation that he may lose that property, right? And he said to the buyer, he's honest with him, he said to the buyer, look, I'm selling it to you, I'm giving you a good price for that, but I'm not guarantee of the future of this estate. It's a chance, for example, that somebody I owed will come and collect it. So that's the whole idea that Maharam Shif explained this Tosfot, and he said, if the intent in the mind of the buyer was sincere that he is going to take it regardless, with this condition that he not takes upon himself any guarantee, so that's it, it's a deal. You cannot say that it's just a word of enticement. So here we see an example, painful example. Ahu shchiv merah dechatav la gita lid vithu, was someone who was very ill, terminally ill. And unfortunately, in this type of situation, when there are no children, his wife knew that the next step it will be that his brother follow the Torah law, either marry her in a Levirate marriage, 90 days post his death, or he release her by chalitza, as we studied in the past. Now, he didn't give the get, the bill of divorce, with the condition that if that happened, that so and so happened. He just wrote it like Rashi explained in a regular way of get. So it means that even he gets better, she's divorced. So again, this is not any form of conditional stipulated get. Now, while he is handing over to her, she placed her hand and he handed over to her the get, in gid ve'itnach. So he basically expressed his sorrow and he regretted that it wasn't written. Remember, he's very ill. That those people who helped him out with writing the get, it was not a conditional get. So he was afraid, he was concerned that maybe miracle happened. And all of a sudden he will feel better, but since he released her by this get, she will go ahead and marry someone else. So when his wife recognized that, Amra lei, she said to him, Amai kamatnachta. What's the reason that you express such a sorrow? I kayamach didach ana. If you get better and you have a total speedy recovery, I am your wife, and the bill of divorce is meaningless. Now, unfortunately, he got better, and his wife decided that she doesn't want to stay with him. Right? So, and Rabbi Yonatan Miludil said that they tried to convince her, no, she doesn't want anything to do with him. So this come before the rabbis, and the rabbi said, the get is a get. He gave her the bill of divorce, it's a get. The other rabbis argued and said, it may happen that this type of get is stipulated get, is al-tnai, that only if I so and so, right, otherwise not. Especially since she said, she spelled out and she said to him, oh, don't worry, you have all this get, you sign all of that, if you feel better, I'm here for you. So that was his understanding with her. Amar Rav Zvid ruled and he said, Pitumei milei be'almahu. Meaning, he rules that unfortunately he lost her. Meaning, she just wanted him to feel good about it. But basically, her intent is to be out of the situation, to be out of the marriage, not to have anything to do with him, and therefore she is now a free woman, and she can go ahead and marry whoever she wished to. Amar le Rav Acha midifti le Ravina, ve'ilav pitumei milei mai. Trace a situation that she, for example, took an oath, and she said to him while he was in quandary, he wasn't clear, it was kind of predicament, he was in a dilemma, to do, not to do. And she, in that manner, emotional manner of talk, she make it as a very clear statement and even make an oath at that time. Bedida kaima lemishdei tna'a begita. Did she have a power, the way that we analyze the biblical text, does she have a power to make a stipulation upon the legality of the bill of divorce? Bedidei kaima lemishdei tna'a. The husband is the one, if you trace, ki kach ishisha, if you go by the biblical text, the power is the husband is the one who initiate, who basically the one who's rules in a sense of giving her the get, the release. So again, we have all these takanot later on, Rabbeinu Gershom and others, but biblically speaking, the husband can divorce his wife against her will. I'm not speaking yet modern days, okay? So therefore, she cannot initiate, again, hypothetically speaking, she cannot initiate any condition within the get. So since the husband did not put any form of condition, why Rav Zvid needs to say this is a word of enticement? So Ravina responds and he said, Mahu de tema, hu gufei, ada'ata dida kagamir v'yahiv gita. Since the husband, remember, this is a very emotional scenario, and the husband hear her word, he basically accepted what she said, the word that she expresses herself, and it's like he said in his understanding, that's the way Rabbi Natan Milunil explained, that was basically the way that her words paved the way for him to make this get, and it was very clear in his mind that it was conditional, that if I passed away, then Kamash Melan, Rav Zvid come and teach us that even all of that said and done, what she said is just a word of enticement, and therefore, even from the side of the husband, there is no type of condition, and that's the way Tosfot said, that the get is the get, even who he feels better. So the Nemukei Yosef said, and what happened if it was said by her before the get was even written? And she was very convincing to him, and then he wrote the get. Do you hold the same thing? And he challenged that, Maram Shif too. So the question is, by them, Nimukei Yosef, Maram Shif, if that happened only at the late stage, when it's already the get is written, and it's just the last part of him signing it over and handing it over to her, or if it happens before he even wrote the get, that she was very convincing to him to write the get, and she said, don't worry about it. Do you treat it the same way as a word of enticement? Not everyone goes by that. The next part is a part in a Mishnah that said, was a condition between two parties. Hilvau hal sadeu. So before we go to that, we need to clearly differentiate between two entities. One is ribit, which is the law of interest. The other one, it's called knas. Knas meaning we imposing a fine. Ribit, the interest, we call, if you remember in the past, for example, schar hamtana. Not only ribit ktsutsa, but schar hamtana, which means you get a reward for the space, for the period of time between getting the product and meanwhile one party using the money of the other party. Versus knas, the Rishonim, the earlier rabbis said that knas, the fine, it's basically a special fine for not standing in conditions. So let's understand the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, I'm just using a term of our days for our understanding. We have Reuven and we have Shimon. Reuven lent to Shimon $100,000. No interest, nothing. But he needs some guarantee. Shimon has a property that have the value, the current value. The value is about 300K. Or let's say 200K, make it simple. Okay, 200K. Shimon said to Reuven, look, I'm going to pay it back. The worst case scenario, I'll pay you in 3 years. But I'm planning to pay you, I'm going to make a good business. The 100K I'm borrowing from you, I'm going to pay you back in a short time. However, in case I did not pay you in a period of 3 years, post 3 years, the moment the 3 years is over, you can collect it from this estate that I mortgaged for you. Right? That's the lien you have against this property. And then you possess this property that has the value of what? Of 200,000. So here, the question is how you treated. You treated not as a rebate, not as an interest, you treat it as a fine. So if you treat it as a fine, it's legal. Meaning, Reuven said, look, I need the money, I can wait. But let's face it, 3 years is a long time. Usually the money depreciated in 3 years. Okay? And obviously, it can go the other way around. So we made it not later on, but the time of transferring the fund between one party to another, that was the condition. So it means I'm giving you the 100K, but in a way it's like you have half of the estate. So Tosfot ask a question. What exactly happened here? It's like a manner of purchasing it. It's almost like one party said to another, Reuven said to Shimon, I'm selling this estate to you. Right? And the idea is, I owe you so and so. I'm going to pay it back, and then the sale is invalid. But in case I'm not paying you the money, it's yours. So here, the question is if it was preconditioned between the two parties. So therefore, Amar Rav Huna, Bishat matan ma'ot kana hakol. If it was at the time of getting the loan, so, and then somehow the borrower did not fulfill his words and did not pay, so therefore kana hakol, the lender has this estate, whole field. However, if they did not have this condition between the party at the time of the loan, לאחר מתן מעות לא קנה אלא כנגד מעותיו. So he said, if it happens after giving the money, he has acquired only a portion of the field corresponding to the money that he lent. ורב נחמן אמר, רב נחמן disagreed, and he said, אפילו לאחר מעות, even if the lender stated his condition after the giving of the money, קנה הכל. He has acquired all. So here you see a story. עבד רב נחמן עובדה גבי רש גלותא בשמעתי. So Rav Nachman performed an action in the rabbinic court of the auxiliary, the head of the community, with his statement that even if the lender states his condition after the loan is granted, the lender acquires the entire field if the loan isn't repaid within the specific time period. So the case came before Rav Yehuda, Kar'ei Rav Yehuda lishtarei. So Rav Yehuda turned this document. So the Khatam Sofer, the Torat Chaim, and others ask why? It's because Ma'aseh Bedin, or it's because the lender did not acquire all, which means this note carries no value. Amar le Resh Galuta, the head, the auxiliary, said to Rav Nachman, who was the well-known, respected erudite rabbi, he says, Rav Yehuda kara lishtarach. Rav Yehuda turned the document you provided. Amar le dar deka kar'ei. You mean to say a little boy that know nothing turned this document? Gemarrah Rabbi Weisblum, this is a person that is a very erudite. He knows what he's doing. Chaza beta'ama v'kar'ei. He sees a reason why, and that's the reason why he turned this garment. He's very erudite. It's a reason why he tore it up. Chaza beta'ama v'kar'ei. Ika de'amri amar lei. There are those who said a different version of this exchange, dar deka kar'ei, opposite way, that is like a little child tore it up, which means there is no need to take his opinion into consideration. The kule alma legabe didi bedina dar dekei ninhu, that this is my specialty. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, page 5, said that Rav Nachman was not only the luminary, but the mover and shaker, the decision maker at that time when it's come to monetary disputation. So the Gemara in Bava Kamma 96, you see it other sources, that he can rule by himself because he was so special when it's come to this. The Gemara in Ketubot, page 13, said that it was a disputation between Rav Nachman and others, especially when it's come to monetary disputations, we go by Rav Nachman. So therefore, you should not take that view of Rav Yehuda into consideration. Hadar Amar Rav Nachman, then he retrieves what he said. Afilu bishat matan ma'ot lo kana velo chlum. So he said, even if the lender stated his condition at the time of the giving of the money, he has not acquired anything. Why? So now you see a contradicted statement. היטיבי רבא לרב נחמן, אם אתה נותן לי מכאן ועד 3 שנים, הרי שלי, הרי שלו. So we said that it was a condition, that he said, look, if you do not give it to me the money now, and instead delay your payment from now until 3 years, so the field is mine. So then after 3 years, the field is really belong to that person. So what you see here, you have a valid condition, even bishat matan ma'ot, even the time of giving the money. Amar lei, Rav Nachman said to Rava, Ani omer, I said, asmachta, in conclusive consent, kanya, has effect acquisitions. Meaning that any obligation one accepts to serve as a penalty over and above the value of what he actually owes is nevertheless binding. Uman amar asmachta lo kanya. Man disagreed, and he said, no, asmachta, inconclusive consent, does not affect acquisition. So therefore, he said that this type of transaction is considering an asmachta. You guys must probably remember that we discuss when we study Bava Batra 168, and when we study earlier on page 48, and see many places. Remember when we talk about gamblers. So one of the issues that we don't accept gamblers for as a valid witness, it's because a professional gambler, the whole making money over 2 entities is by one party losing. Just a side note. Remember that when people gamble, thank God, I don't suspect anyone in this room that is a gambler, but imagine the mindset of those who gamble. So Mr. A putting on table, let's say $50. So his intent is not like a regular manner of selling and buying. That I'm buying this pair of glasses in exchange of, let's say, $400, right? So I understand that this is the value, and I'm giving you $400 with full understanding, and you in exchange give me a pair of glasses. So that's a full understanding of and consent between two parties, the buyer and the seller. Asmachta, in that sense, meaning when Mr. A putting the $50 on the whatever it is, table, roulette, or whatever it is, his mindset, the rabbis explain, is at least I have my money back. Meaning, if you know in advance you're going to lose these $50, no one will put the money. So it means what Mr. B or C collected a couple of $100 or more from everyone, he is not gaining money because it is a transactions between parties. It's asmachta. He is gaining from the losing of the other party. So that type of personality that makes a living from these type of transactions, which is not total legal transactions between the parties, it's a form which we call asmachta, which means not full consent, not full legal manner of kinyan dat, of transactions with full understanding of two parties, and therefore it doesn't carry a manner of legal acquisition by Jewish law. So therefore, uleman yomei kashya matnitim. So the Gemara asks, if so, the Mishnah is different according to man yomei. So why? Because we understand since it depends upon the asmachta, so we not challenge from the Mishnah. Why? Because what we said that asmachta is a disputation among the Tanaim. So it just said in short, it said, if you wish, you said, matnitin Rabbi Yosehi. The Mishnah follow the view of Rabbi Yosei, who said in Tractate Bava Batra, page 168, the Amar Asmachta Kanya, that he said Asmachta effects acquisition, but his is a minority opinion. So therefore, the Milveh lo kana, over there is a disputation between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda, in that Mishnah in Bava Batra 168. We have a case that the borrower paid off some of the money he owed to the lender, and they takes, both parties, the borrower and the lender, they takes the promissory note for the entire amount, and they put it in the trustees of a third objective outside party. So the borrower said to that trustees, he said, if I do not pay off the loan in a period of 30 days, you give this promissory loan to the lender, and he can collect the entire debt, including the amount that I already paid. Unfortunately, the time passed by, and he did not pay what he owes. So Rabbi Yossi said that his condition is effective, and therefore the lender has the right to possess the entire amount because he holds that asmachta kanya. Rabbi Yehuda said that condition is not effective condition because that's considering asmachta, which is the borrower put this type of condition only because he was so sure that he will be able to pay in a timely manner what he owes, and therefore he holds that this type of asmachta, it doesn't have effect of acquisition, and therefore he said that the malveh, the lender, cannot possess the note with the money that he already paid him in advance. Now we're turning to 66b. I ba'it eima, de amar lei knei me'achshav. that he said, you acquire the field from now. So, and they perform a formal act of acquisition. Since an act of acquisition was performed at the time, it's a proper sale and not asmachta. So since we talk about asmachta, we have more words of amoraim when regards to the asmachta. So they said, Amar le Mar Yenuka umar Kshisha bnei Rav Chizda le Rav Ashi. Rav Chizda have two sons, and one is called Kashisha, one is called Yenuka. One was born when he was young, one was born when he was old. So he said, Hache amrei nahar de'ei mishmei Rav Nachman. That's the rabbis of the great city of Naharda said on behalf of Rav Nachman. Hai asmachta, that form of asmachta, bezimnei kanya, belo zimnei lo kanya. If it's a proper time, it's a fact acquisition. If not, then it's not. Which means, if the 3 years pass by and he has not received his money, it's too bad. So Rav Hashi challenged, Amar lehu kol midei bizmanei kanei belo zmanei lo kanei. So he said, Dil mahache ka'amritu ashkechei beko zimnei v'amar le kanei kanei. If the borrower found the lender during the period of the 3 years and he said, acquire this field for yourself, so I do not need to collect it from you. ואמר לקנה לא קנה, מה טעמה? מחמת כסיפה הוא דאמר לי. He said it because of shame with regard to his failure to pay the debt, but did not really intend for him to acquire the field. So the Gemarrah rejected it and said, Velohi, דאפילו בגוזימני נמי לא קנה, והי דקאמר לי קנה כסבר כמעט זימני לא ליתי לי תרדן. So he figured out when the time comes, he will not bother me. So he just said because of the embarrassment, he doesn't have the money to pay, but doesn't have the gmirut dat. Velohi, the Gemara rejected as far as the halacha, it's incorrect. And they said, דאפילו בגוזימני נמי לא קנה, והדה אמר לי קנה כסבר כמעט זימני לא ליתי לי תרדן. אמר רב פאפה, היי אסמכתא, this אסמכתא that we discussed in the Mishnah, זימנין קניה וזימנין לא קניה. Sometimes it does affect acquisitions and sometimes not. Example, אשכחי דקשתי שיחרא קנה. If the lender found the borrower at the day that he supposed to collect the amount and he is drinking wine in that store, so it means that the borrower basically born over losing the field. So he has already in his mind that he is acquired to the lender, and therefore, Maaseh Kinyan Mo'il, it's effective. But if he found him that day, the Kameapech Azuzei Lo Kane. But if he found him that he's searching for money with which to repay the loan, his agreement does not affect acquisition, as it is clear that the borrower made a statement under tremendous duress and he intend to pay. אמר לרב אחא מדיפתי לרבינה, תלמה, maybe לפקוחי פחדי קשתי. Maybe he's drinking because he's sorrow, he's sad, he is worried about the money, right? That's what we said in Tehillim 104, ויין ישמח לבב אנוש, that the wine makes your heart warm. Said, אינמי איני שחרינה סמכי הזוזי. אלא אמר רבינה, איקפית בדמי ודאי קנה. We have no time, right? אמר לרב אחא מדיפתי לרבינה דילמה סברה קרן לא תתלזל הראי, אלא אמר רב פאפא יקפיד בערב ודאי קני. ואמר רב פאפא אבל גב דמו רבנן אסמכתא לא קניא פותי כי אביה למגבא מינא. אמר לרב הונא רב נתן לרב פאפא מי כאמר לקנה לגוביינה, אמר למרזוטרא בית רב מרי לרבינה, והיא אמר לקנה למגבא מיני קני, סוף סוף אסמכתא היא ואסמכתא לא קניא. אלא הפוטיקי דקאמר רב פאפא מאי דאמר לו יהיה לך פירעון אלא מזו.